All right, you guys, what's going on? For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ryan Phipps, and what we're going to be covering in this video here is how to lose body fat for good while eating foods that you love. Now, guys, this is going to be the last video that you ever need to watch to completely master and understand fat loss. I have so much value packed into this video for you guys, so let's dive in, let's get started. And I actually want to start with a story today. I want to start about telling you when I gained body fat on purpose and why I did that. Right. So years ago, when I was working as an in-person personal trainer before I started my online fitness coaching business, I understood on paper how to lose fat, how to teach people that. But my main challenge was always learning how to build muscle, right? That was why I got into the gym. I knew how to build muscle. I'd done it for myself, and I really wanted to experience fat loss, right? I wanted to be able to lead people through experience and not just principles and things that made sense on paper. So I did what anybody would do. I decided to gain body fat on purpose, and this was kind of the transformation, I guess, if we want to call it that, that I made when I decided to do that. Now, one thing that's important to note here is I didn't stop working out. I was working out pretty much the exact same in both of these. The main lever that changed was just going to be my diet. My diet just got a lot worse in this kind of phase when I gained a lot of weight on purpose, right? So that's one very important thing that I want to highlight there. As I was training in both of these, really the main lever was just diet, and I will be teaching you guys exactly what I did as well to undo that. So the results, the results was I lost the fat, right? So I'd lost most of the fat I gained in less than 4 months, made a pretty good transformation. I didn't cut out carbs. I didn't completely cut out my favorite foods. There was no, keto, starving myself or anything like that, which is, again, exactly the method that I'm going to be teaching you guys today, that I teach my clients on exactly how to achieve a transformation like this without cutting out carbs, without cutting out your favorite foods. And I did learn how to lose fat and keep it off. And let's dive in, because that's exactly what I want to show you how to do today. So I can't stress enough, this is for absolutely anybody. This principle, this topic, all of the methods that we're going to cover here will work for anybody, right? Men, women, regardless of age, anything like that, this is going to work for you. And I just want to give you some examples for that specifically as well, right? So this process worked for my client Jay, who joined the program because he didn't know what to eat for his goals, right? He didn't know what workouts to do in order to reach his goals. And he joined because he wanted a system that would help him lose weight so he could keep up with his kids as he ages. Now, the result of using these systems, of joining the program, of applying everything that we're going to be talking about here today, was he lost 45 pounds. He has a system that's built for a busy entrepreneur, right? He is a busy entrepreneur and really needed a system that was also going to fit his lifestyle. And he's now leading his family by being a health role model, right? His wife literally thanked him for leading the charge in health for the family. And for all of my guys watching, I mean, you know what that would mean to you to hear articulated back to you from your wife, right? So just really, really cool stuff. This is always about so much more than just the physique transformation. This is the life transformation, the mindset transformation, all of that great stuff that comes with this as well. So this was Jay's journey, right? And something similar happened for Jack, right? Jack joined the program and followed these processes because he said, I feel like I owe this to myself. And he joined because he wasn't confident in what he was doing in the gym or in the kitchen. And he was looking for a custom system that he knew would get him to his goals, right? And after going through the program, Jack lost over 30 pounds. He mastered his nutrition and overcame his gym anxiety. And actually to the point where, and this is a fantastic, fantastic story. I always love this. He showed his friends how to work out. He showed his mom how to work out. And months before joining the program, he didn't even want to be there himself because he was so anxious to step foot in the gym. So he learned these skills in the program as well. And he actually gained confidence and started his own real estate business as well. So guys, this is always so much more than just a fitness transformation. This is becoming your highest performing self in every area of life. And Josh is a great example of this too. He joined the program because he'd been stuck for over 3 years trying to reach his fitness goals. He really wanted to improve his relationship with food and learn what to eat, learn how to fuel his body, learn how to, achieve this goal, even though he was super busy running his business, right? His schedule was slammed and, he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to do it because he was so busy running his business. But after applying these systems, going through the program and just making that change, making that huge transformation in his life. He lost over 30 pounds. He knows exactly what to do with his diets and his workouts to see results and to keep his results. And he's still crushing it in business and balancing that with his fitness goals. So just another really great example of that, just like my friend Eric right here, right? So my man Eric joined the program, and he said he joined because he wanted to learn what to do to see results, right? He joined because he struggled with knowing what to eat, and he didn't really know how to meal prep or anything along those lines, and he really wanted to build healthy routines into his schedule as well, right? So there was a lifestyle factor there, so much more than just getting in shape for him. But he lost 20 pounds, right? Now he knows exactly what to eat. He knows how to cook to reach his goals, and he's using the mindset that he built from making his fitness transformation to run his business. So guys, just some examples of real people who've taken these principles, seen the physical results, but also changed their mindset and their lifestyle just as a result of what I'm going to teach you here today. So this will work for anybody, right? Regardless of age, gender, occupation, whatever it might be, situation, cooking skills, packed calendar, running a business, right? So many different things here. But before we dive into, kind of the method, I want to cover 3 things that will guarantee failure on your fat loss journey, right? Because these are common mistakes that we just need to be aware and conscious of avoiding if we actually are serious about making this change. But first, I want to just educate you guys a little bit on metabolism, because it's going to give you a better understanding of what I'm talking about, where I'm coming from, and how to actually apply these things that we're going to cover here today. So to begin with, our bodies are very smart. And what I mean by that is our metabolism gets used to how much we eat, right? And this is why it's actually hard to make a change and eat less. If we're used to overeating, quote unquote overeating, right, we feel that difference because it's our body actually making that change. And that's why it's so difficult, because we get used to something, right? And something called metabolic adaptation takes place. And really what this just means, simply put, is your body will adapt to the level of food or calories that you're eating on your fat loss journey, right? And so often, even if it's working, this happens, and that throws people off. The classic example of this is, let's say, I feel super motivated at 3 a.m. tomorrow. I wake up and just, decide to go on a diet, and, I'm down 5 pounds, and it's great. Life is good. Things are flowing. I lost 5 pounds in a week, and it just stops, right? Progress doesn't just stop. Our metabolisms just adapt. So that is very important to understand, knowing that there's always going to be that metabolic adaptation taking place, because our body wants to survive. It's smart. It wants to basically make the food that we're getting work, right? So this is something that's huge to understand going into what we're going to be talking about today. And a reason, reason number 1 why we fail on our fat loss journeys is we heard someone say, just eat less and move more. Like this is probably the most common fitness misconception when it comes to weight loss is just we take eat less and move more and think, okay, I'm basically just going to do excessive cardio while starving myself, and I don't know, I'll suffer my way there. But guys, not only does this not even work, this is actually just the fastest path to being skinny fat, to being frustrated, to just wasting your time dieting and going to the gym in general, and just developing this mental belief that I can't lose weight, this doesn't work for me, right? Now, assuming the goal is to get lean, eating less and moving more is actually horrible advice. And I want to highlight getting lean, because so many people say they want to lose weight, but what they really mean is they want to get lean. They want to keep muscle and lose fat, right? We could lose 20 pounds and look the exact same if we're losing muscle at the same time. We could end up skinny fat, right? And nobody wants that. I know that people want to build that lean physique, right? So I'm going to cover how to actually flip these mistakes into specific actionable steps. But again, it is very important that we're aware of these things, because if we have any of these beliefs or implementing any of these things into the systems that we try when we go to lose weight, when we go to get lean, when we go to retain muscle and lose fat more specifically, then it's just not going to work. So I want to make you guys aware of these things, right? Now, the second reason that we fail on our fat loss journeys is because we completely eliminate all of our favorite foods, right? And again, kind of go back to the example I spoke of earlier, right? Maybe we see the scale drop a little bit when we cut out our favorite foods, and we're like, this is working, this is great. But what happens just inevitably is their cravings always win, right? They always get us, because our goals are set in the future here with weight loss, right? We have to stick to it for a little while. So if we completely restrict like that for a long time, the cravings are just going to win long before we even get to our goals, right? So people find themselves stuck in a cycle that kind of looks like this, right? So often it's kind of based around seasons, right? So maybe in the summertime, we're like, okay, like I'm really going to lock in wintertime, really going to lock in fall, starting to get colder, I'm going to lock in, right? New Year's, all of these different cycles and kind of periods throughout the year when people feel motivated, when it has nothing to do with that, right? You're just stuck in this cycle. You need to realize that it's not dependent on New Year's. It's not dependent on anything like that. It's just dependent on basically getting the right systems in place, right? We want to just break the cycle that looks something like this, right? We feel motivated to make a start. Maybe we completely restrict our favorite foods. We start going to the gym like crazy, right? We go from 0 to 100, see a small success. Maybe we lose 5 to 10 pounds in a week or a month or whatever that might be. But we're just so strict and restrictive that the cravings win. So we binge, mentally we feel destroyed and defeated, and we just kind of restart that system over and over and over again, losing that same 10, 15 pounds, whatever it might be, just until we develop this mental belief that this doesn't work for me, right? Not true whatsoever. That's what we're going to break here, right? The problem isn't your motivation or discipline. It's your system. And this is a great example, a great saying that I love that really does apply to this, right? If you woke up with abs tomorrow, most people would lose them because you wouldn't know how to maintain them, right? And basically what that's saying is just like, you could wake up tomorrow with the goal, but the method or the approach, the system that you're using isn't going to actually allow you to keep those results, right? It's super unrealistic. Like, you think you're just, okay, I want to be in shape, so I'm never going to eat a food that I like again, right? It's when we hear it out loud, it's kind of like, yeah, that is a little bit crazy. I'm sure that doesn't work, but most of society these days thinks that's exactly how weight loss works, right? And it's not. So, and even if you do succeed on that path, right, maybe you do have, insane amounts of discipline or just have been able to stick to that for a while. But I guarantee if you suffer down to that goal, just running yourself into the ground with working out and with cardio, starving yourself down, right, you're never going to keep off the weight long term. Most of the time, actually, like factually, those rebounds of people gaining the weight back just tend to be worse, which is definitely something that we want to avoid. We want to make this sustainable, right? So third reason why we fail on our fat loss journeys is actually mental. We're full of false beliefs, full of false information. We think that carbs are bad. We think that our genetics are bad. We think that the scale is God, right? Just an example of this is I love teaching people who come into my program how to actually use the scale, right? We think it's as simple as just, okay, I'm going to step on the scale and see what I weigh, but this is how to actually use the scale, right? The most accurate time to weigh yourself is first thing in the morning before you eat or drink anything, after using the bathroom. And just think about it. Like, if you jump on the scale at the end of the day, you're going to be full of food, water, etc., and it's just going to show up on the scale and just be inaccurate. And it's all these little things that people just don't know. We grow up hearing carbs are bad, and generations ago we're so obsessed with these things. Should we do high fat? Should we do high protein? Should we do no carb? Like, your genetics are bad, you're an ectomorph, you're all of these things. Like, there are so many just false beliefs, and it's kind of one of those things we have to look at ourselves and say, like, as humanity, if there was a perfect diet, if there was a perfect exercise, like, you think we'd have it by now, but nope, there's just trends that people tend to believe and stick to. So we need to make sure we're not falling for any of these things and not having the mindset of like, oh, I can't eat salads for the rest of my life, so I guess weight loss isn't for me. I guess I'm not disciplined enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there are so many of these beliefs and things that just don't serve people. So we really do end up developing self-talk and mindsets that just tell us, like, I really don't think this is for me. I don't think I can lose the fat and keep it off for good. And that's just not true. So let's start to shatter those beliefs together. Why don't we? And why don't we get into what you're here for, which is what I want to teach you, which is how to lose body fat for good while eating foods that you love. So the first step in doing this that I walk all of my one-on-one coaching clients through is actually going to be hacking your metabolism, right? So we start with what's called a maintenance phase. Now, this is real client data right here from their maintenance phase, right? So one thing to note too that I also want to point out that's just kind of a fun teaching point that I think anybody looking to do any type of weight loss journey should always know is the scale is never going to be linear. Ups and downs are completely normal, right? This could literally be like you had a glass of water before bed and woke up heavier in the morning. This could be maybe you ate a meal a little bit later and woke up just a little bit more full in the morning, which presented on the scale, super normal. We're interested in the overall trend, which, we can see here that this client had a successful weight loss journey, ended up being much more weight loss than this, but just wanted to point this out because, well, I'm teaching you guys everything, and that's what's important to know here, right? Super important. So we start with a maintenance phase, right? And again, if we're looking at the overall trend, we see in the maintenance phase, the weight stayed roughly the same, which is exactly what we wanted, right? And we don't just dive into eating less, right? Someone joins the program, and the first thing we do, it's not just, okay, like, let's just see how little food we can eat. Not at all, right? Again, the goal is to be set up for sustainable fat loss. So this might surprise you, but this is why most people will never achieve their fat loss goals, is because they start by eating less. We actually start by eating more. Right? We start by eating more so we can set your metabolism, set the point again, because our bodies get used to these things, right? And if we're consistently having to break those adaptations by lowering calories over the course of a fat loss journey, wouldn't it make sense to start with more food, to start higher, so we can have more food to eat throughout the journey so we can stick to it? Yeah, I think that makes sense. And that's exactly what I walk people through, right? So after that maintenance phase is complete, we've got their metabolism hacked and all set, ready to go. It is time to enter the famous caloric deficit or fat loss phase. So this is kind of what in-season fat loss looks like for my clients. So after we've hacked their metabolisms, we enter the calorie deficit using a fat loss formula, right? So we don't just slash calories. Weight loss is kind of when you do that, right? So fat loss or weight loss is an equation and fat loss is a formula. Now, really what this means is, again, there's a huge difference between losing weight and losing body fat, right? So many people think, okay, I'd be super happy if I could lose 20 pounds, but really what they mean is I would love to lose 20 pounds of fat and keep the muscle that I have so I actually look lean and don't just look skinny fat or don't just look like a smaller version of what I already do look like, right? So when I say a formula, this means going a level beyond just eating less food, right? Most people just think, oh, I'll just cut out some of this, I'll just cut out some carbs, I'll just, yeah, whatever, right? No, that's not how you do that. The specifics of what this process actually looks like is going to be much more specific like this, and I give all of my clients these exact things, but just to speak broadly here for a second, this means having specific targets, right? How many calories, how many grams of protein, how many grams of fat, how many grams of carbs, right? So we can get those ratios right, so we can keep the muscle that we have and tell our bodies we want to lose the fat and keep the muscle specifically, right? So we're not just building a skinny fat physique here, right? The goal is really to build a lean physique, right? So this is kind of when we do that, right? We have the maintenance phase, we introduce the calories, the macros, the calorie deficit, the right ratios, and then boom, the metabolism's primed, weight just starts to fall off, as you can see here. And that's kind of the beauty of setting ourselves up in the first phase that most people skip, right? So in in-season fat loss, we do not completely eliminate carbs, right? I love telling my clients to eat carbs. In fact, I teach them how to use them for fuel, right? When we're resistance training, it is actually exactly what our body wants, right? It's just meal timing, how much, those types of things are going to be important. And those are all of the specifics that I give my successful clients here. So we do not just completely eliminate your favorite foods, right? I understand that is unsustainable, and doing that would actually set you up for long-term failure, right? Again, those cravings, those cycles of binging, the negative self-talk, the doubt. I would much rather just show you how to incorporate those things into your diet. I don't know about you, but I'm going to have cheesecake again in my life. In fact, the picture that I showed you in the beginning, when I did the fat loss transformation myself, I was having weekly free meals. I was having those things because I knew how to incorporate that into it. And since I've learned that, that's just what I teach people to do now. So you're also not doing excessive cardio in this phase, right? The goal isn't just, okay, we're ready to, lose body fat now. We've done the maintenance phase. I don't know, good luck. Here's no food and just see how long you can run every day. No, that is a recipe for failure, right? So we do not do any of those things. We do not make any of those mistakes or believe any of those misconceptions that keeps people stuck in that loop for years, but we do see results using the formula, right? So fat loss conclusion. Fat loss is not achieved by just doing excessive cardio and starving yourself. If you get anything from that, just stop believing that. That does not work, and the proof is, if it did work, everybody would be in shape because everybody tries that. That's pretty much around January when everybody tries that for a week or two, realizes, this is pretty hard, it doesn't work, so I can't stick to it. Now, a level beyond that is just fat loss is not just subtracting 300 to 500 calories, right? To put it simply, what most people do is they just, I'm going to cut out a little bit of this, I'm just not going to eat as many carbs anymore, whatever it might be, whatever their belief that is bad is, they're just going to cut out, right? That's not what we do. We have a specific measurable process that is backed in science that actually works, right? A formula that guarantees we keep muscle and lose body fat specifically so we can get lean, right? Really want to hammer home that point that this is about building the lean physique, not just losing 20 pounds looking the exact same and just kind of wondering why we did all of this, right? This is building a lifestyle in which you're able to maintain a lean physique. You can absolutely eat the foods that you love and get lean at the same time using this system, and the specific foods that everybody should eat look different, which is exactly why I love walking people through this process, because we have these systems, we have these formulas, and what it looks like for you might be a little bit different than somebody else. And that's exactly what I love to help people figure out. So guys, thank you so much for your time. If you want to learn how to do this through experience, just click the link down below to work with me one-on-one. If you're ready to start your own journey to become unrecognizable, like my man Sam here, who crushed his transformation while doing exactly what we spoke about in this video here, eating foods that he loves. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I'll see you soon.